My name is Mary Leppo, in case you have not met me before. And I do apologize. I know I made a post about 4:30, so I apologize about that. But I am new to technology, and I just did my whole presentation, and it was not live. So here's for round two. I did my nice little TNT talk. So I apologize about that. Okay, so what the purpose of this is, these little talks I'm going to do each week, is to introduce you a little bit deeper into the chakras, which are wheels of energy centers within the body. I'll kind of explain that a little bit in more general terms in a moment. And kind of a good setup for a week. The other reason I'm doing it is because when I'm teaching a class, I'm on a time constraints. It needs to kind of start and end at a certain time, so it's not a real good idea to have people come into a class, have me sit there and talk for 10 minutes before we go into the class. So I'll be giving an extremely abbreviated version. A lot of what I have up here will be left out before we do each class, for those of you that don't see my Facebook Lives or follow me on Facebook that much. So you'll get a little bit. Those of you that follow me here will get a lot more. So this one, this first one will be a little bit longer than the others because I'm going to give a little bit of a general overview of chakras, and then we'll go into this one. First things first, my sources that I'm using for all of these, I'm going to give credit where credit is due, is from my 200-hour yoga teacher training manual from the Own Place when I did that, the 2014 version. The notes that I took on my 300-hour yoga teacher training modules that I did a couple years ago at the Essence of Yoga Center. My Yin Yoga training manual when I did that certification a year or so ago. And a few books. Now, I've posted these books in my Facebook page, but I'll go over them here again real briefly. A Yogi's Guide to Chakra Meditation. The Energy Book, Whole Detox. Whole Detox is about the foods and different things that go with the different chakras. Wheels of Life, and the Yoga of the Subtle Body. There are many books out there about the chakras. Occasionally, you will see different workshops come up about the chakras. My friend and fellow yogi teacher, Teresa, actually does a chakra workshop that's pretty good for basic knowledge level. But I have not read all of those resources yet. So if I have not personally read it, I am not going to recommend it to you. So this list might be ever expansive as I go through those things, but just know these are recommendations based on what I have read and that I find to be sound and solid. So that being said, going through, I apologize that the throat chakra, the third eye chakra, and the crown chakra are kind of cut off in my video here, but it goes all the way up to the spine. So your 7 chakras, there are 7 main ones that will be the focus of this 7-week journey. But there are many minor ones all throughout the arms, legs, hands, and feet. There's even one that even goes beyond the crown chakra, and one that goes further down into earth from the root chakra that we'll talk about. But those are topics of discussion for another time. So these are the, like I said, they're energy gateways. They're gateways for consciousness of life. Pulsates with our livelihood. They are described in the ancient tantric yogi texts from ancient India. Maybe even a little bit of medieval India times in there as well. All chakras are linked. So a block with negative emotions in one area will cause issues in your other chakras. It can also cause physical illness in that area if you've got some blockages there. So just because a little bit of a root chakra story with me going into this week. So my husband and I recently moved into this beautiful new house. We were really excited about it, don't get me wrong, but our previous house was all we knew of our lives together. So from our first date, other first, watching the kids grow up, graduate, and move out of the nest. From there, we went through several dogs. It was all we knew. It was all we knew. For 17 years, that was all we knew. And then come September, we just decided we were going to pack up and move, and we did so. The first night here being December the 1st. So needless to say, while I am off of Prozac now, which I got on at the beginning of the pandemic because pandemic uprooted anybody, and another example of the root chakra becoming out of balance for a lot of people is, the pandemic. So that was not a good time for me to get off Prozac while I was trying to get grounded in this house, getting moved in, going right into Christmas, and then here I was. Everything's great now. I'm nice and grounded, but that's a first chakra story there. So issues in one area will cause issues everywhere else. And just to go over a few therapies for general chakra balance. Any kind of movement practice will generally get you there, so obviously yoga. I like a lot of dance practices, so that could be a Zumba class. It could be free form creative movement where you just put on the music and you just move around, and it is liberating, and you feel that energy shift from the time you started to the time you ended. So we've got that. Time spent in nature. Nature is different things to different people. Sometimes it's just being outside in general. Sometimes that's a walk in the woods. Sometimes that's spending time on the beach or on the lake or wherever it is that you like to go outside. So spending time in nature, you feel all of your senses come into play there. Reiki work, meditation work, massage, self-care practices, and sound therapy, and particularly sound therapy with attuned crystal bowls, crystal singing bowls to be exact. So all of those things are great ways to balance the chakras in general. So this week we're going to focus on the first chakra, going into, it's called Muladhara. That is a Sanskrit term. It is located in the coccyx, so it's right here on this tapestry. It's kind of the tailbone region, also associated with the pelvic floor, the feet, the legs, and sometimes even, I would argue, even a little bit in the hips, just because the tailbone is so close to the pelvic bowl that I think it kind of, is associated there. And it vibrates a color red. So hence my red marker, the red color here, my red shirt, trying to be coordinated. It has the sound of LUM, L-U-N, so it sounds like LUM. So that's the sound of the first chakra. I'm not a singer. Never claim to be, don't pretend to be. So if that was not a pleasant sound, I apologize. It's associated with the element of earth, which makes sense. We often talk about trees being rooted in the ground. The yoga pose of tree, we root in our feet, we root all the way up through the leg into the pelvis. Yes, for stability. So earth element there. Foods associated with the first chakra, proteins, and it can be any kind of protein. It does not have to necessarily be red meat or any kind of meat. It can be beans, it can be lentils, it can be nuts. Minerals. So minerals, yes, you need different things working within your body. So I'm not going to mention specific ones because I don't want people to go out and then try to find these supplements and take them and something bad happen. So the only thing I'll say with minerals is you should get everything you need for healthy root chakra, healthy body through a well-balanced diet and a multivitamin. The only exception to that is if a medical professional has you on a mineral supplement like an iron supplement, magnesium supplement, something like that. Otherwise, you can get everything you need from your diet and a multivitamin. And anything that is red foods. So that can be beets, radishes, strawberries, red peppers, red bananas or red plantains, cherries. We're coming into that season now. Red apples. Those things would qualify as red foods. And then your breath, so the pranayama work. So we do the equal part breath a lot in all of my yoga classes. Why do we start class that way? Because it grounds us. It gets us out of the monkey mind, hopefully, with whatever we brought with us into that space to set ourselves up for a focused practice. And alternate nostril breath. We don't do that one too often, but we do it sometimes. And so that's the one where we close off one nostril, breathe in and out, and then the other. We will see that this week. So some attributes. So positive attributes of the first chakra when it is in balance are a sense of groundedness, stability, steady, feeling solid. So the expression having your feet on solid ground is why that's there. Good relationships with your family, friends, community, a sense of identity, survival needs being met. So that's going to be food, and by say not just food, but food that is not contaminated with organisms that would be harmful to you. Same thing with water. So clean water, good food, a roof over your head, clothes on your back, the basic needs, and a sense of safety. If you don't feel safe where you are, can you ground? No, because you're thinking about you're not being safe where you are. So a sense of safety is a positive attribute. Negative attributes when the first chakra is out of balance is a sense of feeling stuck or stagnant, a decrease in motivation, insecurity, tiredness. If tiredness is the only thing you sense of feel, it might not necessarily be root chakra. I want to put that out there as that is a symptom of off balance in other areas as well. Depression, stiff and sore lower joints, so that can be the hip, the knees, the ankle. Low back and foot pain, which is what I typically experience a lot of times when my first chakra is out of balance. Money problems. Do you have trouble following a budget? Are you in lots of debt? Do you owe people money? Those kinds of things. So money issues, obviously there, and fight or flight response, which kind of goes back to the sense of safety. Is someone coming at you? That fight or flight response is really going to come in there. You're not going to be grounded in that moment. All right. So different other things here. Meditations or affirmations. So you will hear me mention these in our yoga practices this week. I am safe. I am enough. I am steady. I am strong. I am grounded. I am rooted. So for those of you that maybe don't meditate the way you think meditation should happen, but you do enjoy 5 minutes of peace in the morning when you wake up before everybody else gets up. That quiet time, these are great affirmations to do, and that can be a type of meditation. So these are things to work on your own during the week. I'll also say it in your class. And then poses that are associated with the first chakra. So that's going to be any kind of standing poses we do, the warrior series, any standing balances that we do, tree pose being the most common, grounding forward bends, which can be seated or standing, the light use of the Mula Bandha, which is that root block. So you hear me cue that drawing up and in. That's activating that root block. And restorative yoga. So restorative yoga is very different. I have not done a video on that yet, but it is not really considered exercise, You're not really stretching, you're not really moving. Its sole purpose is reducing stress and relaxation. So you are on the ground, you are completely supported, or even in a chair, you could arguably do that too. You are completely supported by props, so bolsters, blankets like I'm sitting on, blocks. You might have a strap to kind of help you be in place sometimes, pillows, cushions, all of those things. You're just there to relax. That's all it is. It is not yin yoga, which is active, stretching and moving. You could totally fall asleep in restorative yoga, whereas yin yoga, if you feel like you can fall asleep in that pose, you're not doing yin yoga, you're doing something else. So restorative yoga and shavasana, the relaxation at the end. So you hear me, you hear other yoga teachers say, don't skip shavasana. That is not the time to roll up your mat and get out of dodge. Try to be there. The root chakra can be very intense for a lot of people if you've got different things going on and coming up. I know it can be hard to just lay there and be still and deal with it, but that's what yoga does. It helps us deal with the present. It does not help us deal with what happened to us in the past, what might happen to us in the future. How are we dealing with our shit right now? That is what yoga is. And that's what shavasana helps us kind of bring that practice together. So if you have trouble with shavasana this week, I will probably cue you to focus on the color red. Keep saying red, 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 red over and over again, or some of these affirmations. And that will help. And then what's not up here, but is also associated with the chakra sometimes in healing, because I'm kind of out of room, but I also kind of forgot as well, are crystals. So there are several crystals that you can use to do first chakra work. My favorite that I like to use is carnelian. As you notice, it is a rather red stone. So you can kind of hold it in that area and say these affirmations. And then that can, the energy from the stone affects the energy in the body, and that can bring a sense of healing there. So crystals, not everybody's jam, but they can work for some people. They do work for me. I do use them. So that kind of concludes everything that I wanted to cover in this tea talk with me to set up for our first chakra classes. So all of the yoga, yin yoga, yoga at Hawaii, yoga on Zoom, yoga at Radically Rooted Studio, will all have a first chakra theme this week. We'll go through this for the next 7 weeks with the different chakras. And like I said, this is the longest one. The rest of them will be a lot shorter. But thank you so much for hanging with me. If you like the tea talk and you would like for me to talk about other things outside of the chakras, it needs to be yoga and Pilates related, because that's what this group is about, yoga and Pilates. Other things have other platforms for. But if you like that and you would like for me to bring in those topics, or even in some instances, expert, I do know people that specialize in different things. I am happy to do that for you. Just let me know. Other than that, I hope that you will have a wonderful week with me going through the first chakra, or if you're not a yoga person, going through some Pilates poses. Not so much the chakra, but you'll feel some energy shifts this week. So thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening and week ahead.